I'll play it a couple times. Okay, so a little disclosure. So remember, when we're talking about these plays, we're not talking about correct or incorrect calls. We're talking about whose call this is. So just keep that in mind if you do want to make a comment. All right, Dana, release that poll.
Polling in progress.
All right.
And those of you on this webinar, if you are logged in and you don't have your full name on the participant list, could you please make sure you type that in? So we have like Steve, we have Galaxy S10 Plus, we have David W. To do that, go to the participant list, push more and rename, so that way we know who you are. Thank you.
Where are we at on the?
43 seconds with 32 of 36 participating.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, we are at 1 minute.
All right, so go ahead and release those results.
All right.
If you don't mind reading those off.
So lead, all 32 respondents said lead. No one replied anything else.
Beautiful. Anyone want to unmute and talk about why this is a lead play? Anybody? Anybody at all? I don't want to call on anybody.
This is Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca.
So primary defender gets, the ball handler gets past the primary defender, secondary defender, as we know, anytime is going down or to the basket is leads.
Right. So this is a secondary defender. Now, talking about anybody want to explain what Trail's responsibility is? Anybody at all?
It's Carmela. Can I try it or say it?
Yeah.
So the Trail, once the primary defender gets beat, his responsibility is if there's a push from behind or a trip or a slap from behind.
So in this play, who would be Rebecca's responsibility?
Is Rebecca the
Rebecca is the Trail.
hard. It would be the one that's on the long corner, or it could even be the one that's reaching in. But I think it's the one, because the primary defender that got beat was the one that left his feet on the long corner. Good.
Okay, so like I said, we wouldn't talk about judgment. This official calls a block. If we're looking at this is pretty dang close. But if I had to guess, this lead followed, which is okay to take a look, take a peek, right? But if I had to guess, this lead followed the ball handler all the way to the basket and was almost surprised by this secondary defender. So keep in mind that when we're refereeing these plays, our Trail has that play. Our lead will need to pick up the competitive matchup in the paint. And if we can do that, we pick up 23 and we find out, as Curtis said in his previous comment, we pick up that A to B movement, and we have a better judgment. Positioning, everything is great with the lead. We just want this lead to pick up the defender a little sooner. Anybody disagree?
Hey, Nate, it's Curtis.
Yep.
Hey, so you've already alluded to it, as a lead official in that particular play, in that movement right there that's occurring, that action by the defender that's going to challenge that jump shot. Once that defender elights, you're allowed to take a peek at that play, and you want to take a look at that play for any type of point of contact. But once that defender puts that ball on the floor, your head and your eyes should go to your primary area and pick up the defender that's going to hurt you. So you got to go to your area of coverage and pick that secondary player up. So once that defender elights and he drives, we have to take our eyes and our head to the defender and trust the system to say, Rebecca can get any backside, like Carmela just mentioned, backside push, trips, or hits on the arm. And then our center still needs to be aware. So if the the lead official does not get his eyes and head to that play, don't guess on it. Our center official should have maybe a step up just to kind of see that movement to help. And these are plays that you should talk about in pregame to say, okay, well, if there's not a whistle there, there's two bodies to the floor. We're going to have a whistle from the outside referee. So as soon as that player elights and that player puts the ball on the floor there, our eyes and our head should go to secondary and pick that up. And like you said, I think the lead official was late on this play and getting to that secondary. So trust the system and get off of that player and allow Rebecca to officiate that backside action area.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you touched in on the center. That was going to be the next comment is, look, the center has no competitive matchup, and the center needs to be willing to be ready to help. And in this case, the center does a great job of not, that center sees the play, but he also trusts the system. Lead gets the play. We go. So good play. So next play. Okay, so and there's going to be a replay. I'll play this twice. Okay, I'll play it one more time. All right, Dana, go ahead and release.
Ooh, they're coming in fast this time.
We'll give them about a minute again.
Sounds good. I'll start a little countdown with about 10 seconds to go. 29 of 36 already voted.
Nice. Don't worry, your name does not pop up in the poll, so.
It does not.
So feel free to take a shot at it.
$33 of 36. Ten seconds left. I don't think you can vote more than once. All right, time has expired.
All right, go ahead and show those results and read them off to us.
All right, so lead was 61% with 20 of the participants, center 36% with 12 participants, and trail 3% with 1 participant.
So 60% lead, 30% center, and What was the trail?
It was 61% lead, 36% center, 3% trail, which was one official.
Okay. So I'm just going to tell you right now, this is a center play. Okay. Before I explain this, does anybody want to unmute and explain why this is a center play?
Sure. This is Randy King.
Go ahead, Randy.
It's a seaside drive that originates obviously in the center's primary on a primary defender. Lead has a good look and should have a secondary whistle on that, or a cadence whistle.
Okay, so what would make what do leads have on drives to the basket?
Anything coming down the lane.
And secondary.
And a secondary defender. So if they gotten around that primary, they would get that secondary defender in their primary.
Nate, may
Correct.
I? Nate, may I?
Yep.
This is a play in transition, and I don't consider this a front court seaside drive. This is a play in transition, and the lead's already sitting, waiting, set up to referee. The center's still trying to get set up. And I'm not saying you can't referee on the run, but this is a transition play, and I'm just going to say that would, and it's a great discussion, but I'm going to say there's nothing wrong with lead having a whistle on this play.
There isn't, and the only reason I bring this up, Wilson, is in this frame right here, what does the defender do wrong?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to talk about. Yeah, I hear you about correct or incorrect. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Right, and the reason being is this is a tough play for lead. From their angle, yes, they're set up, they're great, and I don't disagree with you on that play, and this is why this is a good discussion play. But even, I mean, this is a perfect frame to show us that our center really does have one, the A to B movement of the defender, two, the verticality of the defender, and see if there's any illegal contact. I think.
Hey, Nate.
Yep.
Hey, Nate, this is David.
Yep, go ahead.
I agree with Wilson. I mean, we've always told a lot of our officials on a transition play, especially if the lead is set up, that we want them to take it. I agree with Wilson also, is at the center, he's still
on
moving.
Secondary defenders, right?
No, not on secondary defenders, but not on a transition play. This is a typical transition play, a fast break, where the defender is basically going down the paint. And yes, the offensive player is seaside drive, but the lead should be taking this play all the way. Nate.
Hey, Nate, Mark Dislin, can I say something?
Go ahead, Mark.
As Randy said, the drive starts in the center's area. The driver is not into the paint. They're out there in the center's area. I would say this is where the lead needs to have a patient whistle and let the C call it. If the C doesn't call it, then the lead should come in. But it starts in the C's area and stays in the C's area.
Nate, it's Cliff.
Yep, go ahead.
I agree. I agree with Wilson and with David. This is a transition play. Lead is already there. He's anchored. I mean, he's got both feet on the floor, looking squarely at the play. For all we know, trail isn't even in the front court yet, and I think, and I also agree with Wilson. Either one of these guys could make that call. But the play is coming directly towards Lee, and I think Lead has the better look at it at that point in time. Now, if the kid pulls it out or whatever, then we can go the other way. But with that transition, I think the guys are right. I think that's Lead's play all the way.
All right. Hey,
Nate, this is Daniel. Be careful jumping real quick.
Hey, the majority has spoken. This is going to be a Lead play.
Hey, Nate, go ahead, Daniel, answer that, and then I'm gonna ask a question. This is Curtis. But go ahead, Daniel.
Okay. Yeah. So the way I'm looking at this, Nate, we almost have two different camera views of what I would picture to be a C view. So this is the C view, and then when we go into replay, we get the lead view. And I have different calls, honestly. When I first saw it from the C side, I thought she was not. She went from A to B, but when I'm here at lead, I think that defender stays up, and then the offensive player was the one who causes the contact and causes the defender then to go to A to B. So I don't think that's a foul. So I just wanted to point that out. I think this is a lead call because it's in transition.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys make great points, and I'm not disagreeing, and I may have learned something on this play.
Hey, Nate, real quick, and
Yep.
I'm not trying to bring up different levels, but at the men's college level for an outnumbering fast break, all defenders.
Everybody's a secondary
Everybody's
defender. It's the same thing on the women's.
A secondary. In the high school level, is there any verbiage that can help the high school referees say, okay, on transition plays, our trigger, when we pregame these types of plays, is there anything in our rule book that states that? And
no, we don't have anything in our mechanics manual that actually shows this. I actually looked it up. In our women's manual, this is a center play.
Hey, Nate.
So that's what I'm basically going off of. So,
okay.
You know, again, but we do not, in our mechanics manual, we do not have this play defined.
Hey, Nate.
To be honest.
Hey, so one of the key words right there is what Curtis said, is that you got to talk about it in the pregame. And I know a majority of us as crew chief leaders, we do talk about it in our pregames with transition plays and who's going to get that call. And the majority of the time, it does go to the lead.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. And honestly, you know, Wilson and Curtis, men's officials, in our women's manual, this is a C play. Again, you know, going back to high school, we don't have anything that defines this play. So again, this is going to be a pregame play, and that's kind of how we've got to go with that.
And just one more comment, Nate, regarding the whistle on the play. And this is a mindset. This is something I've been taught from being with Ed Rush Sr. and just different programs I've been a part of. But having your whistle or your air in your belly, and it's more of a mindset to say, let the play develop and finish. So you start, develop, finish, and process the play. And we're officiating the defender on this play, but we're also aware of what the offense is doing and creating. In this particular play, in my opinion, I think there's a reaction to the contact rather than processing the play to determine whether that was legal or illegal. So just something to think about as we referee plays. Your air in your belly, it's more of a mindset to let the play develop and finish. Even though she does swipe down, is there a contact and who initiates the contact? Just something to think about.
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good discussion. I like it. So let's move to the next one. I'll let it catch up. All right, one more time, and then Dana. Oh, there we go. All right, Dana, you want to release?
Is the video
clear? Is the video clear? Do we have better clarity on this video?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. (23 of 36 have voted. Five seconds left. All right, time's up. So lead had 0, center had 7 for 21%, trail had 27 for 79%.
Yeah, I think in this play, this is a great trail call. Obviously, this primary defender is in trail's primary. Trail does a great job of position adjustment, gets an open look, watches this play start to finish, and is able to, I mean, the positioning is great from the trail position on this.
Nate.
Yep.
Yeah, this is what we call obviously a diagonal drive, and the trail does a great job of position adjustment. The defender starts out legal, but does not maintain it. Doesn't have 2 feet on the floor facing the opponent. Reroutes the dribbler, and the trail steps down to get a good look between the defender and the offensive player on this diagonal drive, and is right there and has a good whistle on this play. This is not a curl play. This is a diagonal drive.
Absolutely. And this is a Chris Rastatter wake play.
Yep.
Wilson, you want to explain Chris Rastatter's wake?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the jet wash or the wake of the boat. You want to stay within the wake, and that's right between the defender and the offensive player. Not only did the official step down, but the official was on the floor enough to have a look between both players and see if this contact is illegal, which I believe it is, and reroutes the offensive player, and good whistle. So the wake or the wash, stay between both players and follow that wake, just like if you're behind a boat at Elephant Butte.
Absolutely.
Hey Nate, and kudos to the lead and the center official for not blowing on this play and guessing. That's team officiating. That's a great job.
Absolutely. And the thing is the center too, and I'm usually not a fan of centers stepping out, but on this play, I think the best look for that center was to step out. I'm always talking about stepping lower rather than higher. But in this case, I think the center does a good job and does what he needs to do to get an open look, just in case he needs to help. But this is a trail play.
Yeah. And did you see how the lead pinched the paint on that drive also?
Absolutely. This is great. This is a good clip. Good job, Rebecca. All right, next one. All right, Dana, go ahead and release.
Oh my gosh, they're coming in so quickly.
Nice. I think we're getting more comfortable with this.
Exactly. This one's a battle. We're at 30 seconds. Ten seconds remaining. Need a buzzer or something. Out of time. Let's see. So this one, there was a dead tie. both lead and center had 16 votes.
Awesome. So other than Curtis and Wilson, I want to get somebody who answered lead, just to explain why this is a lead play.
Because they got the secondary defender who's committed the foul on that play. Lead's
Sorry,
got.
who is this?
This is Wayne.
Hey, Wayne. So go ahead.
I say lead has the secondary defender who made that foul on that play. Center has the drive all the way to the basket with the primary defender. But the foul was on the secondary.
All right. Anybody that chose center brave enough to explain why this is a center play?
Hey, Nate, it's Jared.
Hey, Jared.
So I went with, so this one's a tough play because obviously the center's got a lot, but in the pregame, a lot of times, especially this year, we've talked about drives, seaside drives, who's going to have primary, who's going to take those plays. And if it's, we've talked about if the defender is outside the lane line, we're going to give that up to center. Whereas if it's in the lane line, we're going to give it to lead. So this one, he's outside the lane line. So pregame wise, yes, it's a center, which is why I voted that. But at the same time, center does have a whole lot of crap going on with the primary defender. So a double whistle isn't the worst thing on this play. But if we pre-gamed it the way a lot of us in the central region have pre-gamed it, we're going to give that up to center.
So mechanically, Jared, I'm going to go ahead and answer for everyone. Again, we go back to secondary defenders and sticking to fundamentals because, again, you just said it. In the central region, we talk about this play. What are we doing statewide? Right? In the southeast, they may talk about being, secondary defender. This is lead. Wayne in the northwest says this is a secondary defender. This is a lead play. Right? So what happens when we get to the state tournament? One, we got to stick to fundamentals and basics, and this is a secondary defender. This should be a lead play in transition. As we went back to contradict myself, really, on play number 3. So what happens if, sorry, and I don't have a cursor because I'm on my iPad. What happens if that primary defender fouls? Who's watching the primary defender, Jared?
What was that?
Who's watching, and I can't see the number.
Oh,
who's watching that defender right there?
So in this play, it's going to be the center, yeah.
Okay, so who's watching that defender now?
Absolutely nobody.
Well, who should be watching that defender?
Center.
And what happens if there is no contact? Who's watching that defender again?
It should be center.
Right. So this is a play that we need to have a lead whistle on.
Absolutely.
Anybody?
Yeah. So this is Daniel again. One thing that I try to do in transition is basically get the defender nearest to you. And if we do that in this case, Travis has the primary defender, and I don't know who that is at lead, but lead's going to have that secondary defender, so that's why that's a lead call. And similar to what Jared said, I mean I think he has a foot in the lane, so a foot in the lane, transition, everything to me is pointing to that being a lead.
Yep. So we good?
Nate, yeah, Nate, just to add real quick again, as you pregame this play, and Jared, we there at the end of the season, we have to ensure when we pregame this, we have to put a caveat to say, even though the secondary defender is outside the lane and his feet are outside that lane, then you get off your primary defender. And if you can't get off your primary defender to take your eyes in time to get to the secondary, and there's no way that you can get that play correct. And I'm not saying that he got it incorrect. Just saying it's very difficult for you to have a high percentage of a correct call in this play if you take your eyes that quickly from your primary to your secondary.
Correct. So, and all the points that you guys brought up, Wilson, you alluded to it in play 3. The lead gets there, lead set up, lead is able to recognize that defender and pick that up.
Hey, that's a tough play. I like, the discussion everybody's, and I like how everybody's talked about we need to pregame these things. Definitely needed a whistle. And I like how the center and the lead just kind of posted their arm and nobody showed. And then the center was like, okay, I'll take it. We're going the other way.
Yep, we're good.
That crew did a great job on that play, regardless of right or wrong.
Nate,
right.
It's Mark. I got a question.
Sure.
So is that a shooting foul or not? It looks like the center's pointing to the end line.
This is a shooting foul. That's a great question because I hadn't thought about that when looking at this play. But this offensive player has gathered. They have started their shooting motion.
But it looks like the center points to the end line.
The center points the spot. If this is a blocking foul or shooting, obviously the center calls a offensive foul. So now the center is going to notify or let the lead know where we're going to inbound the ball because there are no shots on an offensive foul. Does that clear that up, Mark?
So that was an offensive foul. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this is the center calls an offensive foul. Then he does a great job of not doing anything. He communicates with the lead official, which is now going to be the trail official, where the throw-in is going to be. When you talk about mechanically, this is textbook.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, next one. All right, another transition play, so we're going to the other end. All right. All right, Dana, go ahead and release.
In progress. (31 of 35). 30 seconds left. Ten seconds. And time is up. So we had 33 participants, all of whom said lead.
Perfect. That's an easy enough. This is a tough play in the sense that when we get in that center position and we're in transition, it's really hard for us to lay off a play that is, really kind of in front of us. But this is a lead play. Our center does a great job of trusting the system and letting this lead take this. Now, I do want to take the opportunity to kind of clean up some mechanic stuff. Obviously, we all, as you can see in all these block charge plays, we've all had a different mechanic. And that's something that Dana and I have talked about, and we do want to be more consistent this upcoming season. So we will start setting guidelines, federation guidelines, as far as mechanics and proper mechanics for these types of plays.
Nate.
Yes.
Obviously, great discussion here. You know, Curtis and guys have been, Jess Martinez, guys been repping for a while. Even though this is the leads play, we've already taken a look at it. I would just say, even as a lead, be a little bit more patient. The lead's already shipping it before the person even hits the ground. And I would just like to suggest this to if there's some younger officials out there. You've got a block charge. You know, you can post your arm, put your fist up, wait till that player hits the ground, and you have time to process that and ship that. Don't be in such a hurry. You don't have to blow on contact. They hit the ground, you can post the arm, and then if you need to ship it or say blocking foul, that's fine. But even slow down, even when it is in your primary also. So a patient whistle, even on plays within your primary.
Yeah, the offensive player hasn't even hit the ground, you're right, and our lead is already pointing, has made that decision. Great. Good stuff, Will. All right, let's move to the next one. And this is just replay, so play 7. Let me let it, there you go. All right, this is not your typical drive to the basket. I just thought this was an interesting play because we do talk about drives to the basket, who has play. So I'll play this a couple times. All right, Dana, go and release.
Is underway. We'll just give 30 seconds this time because people are answering really quickly. We're at the halfway point. 10 seconds. And time is up.
All right. So I struggled with this one a little bit. So go ahead and release the results.
All right. So there were 0 for lead, 16 at center, 12 at trail. So center was 57% and trail was 43%.
Yep. So again, in my notes, I put this is a center/trail call. This is a transition play. I think if we have a whistle from trail, okay. If we have a whistle from center, center is obviously set up to make this call. What makes this a trail call is that this is a right-handed shooter with a defender coming from the trail's strong side, and illegal contact happens on the trail side. But I'm okay with the center. If anybody has anything different, or this is a play where I almost expect a double whistle.
Nate, on this particular play, this area is what we refer to as a gray area, and it's an
area of intersection.
And for me, I answered trail just as a primary official on this play. That's not to say that we couldn't double on it, or our center couldn't take a peek, or even our lead. We have nothing competitive going on in our area right now. that in that intersection of gray, we can take a sneak peek to say, was there an elbow flick? Was there a shoulder hit? And what I really like about Doug, he looks like he processes the play, and he allows who is that up top? The trail official, Blaze, to officiate it, and then he comes up with a cadence whistle. So I really like his whistle cadence on this play. So it's tough. I'm not saying it's right center play. It's a gray area, and in my mindset, I really like Doug's mindset right here to say, trail, you have first crack. I'm coming with a late whistle. So it's okay to peek at those plays, even as a lead. When you have a front side defender that's competitive, take a look to see if that's an elbow flick and pick that up if you have nothing competitive going on, and then get off the play and get to your rebound and responsibility. Absolutely, and this is just good. This is a good crew play right here. You know, it's again working the system. You hit on cadence. Doug does a good job with his cadence on this. But again, when we're talking about primary coverage areas and using the diagram that we put up to start this meeting, this is an area of intersection. So this is a gray area.
Nate, it's Cliff.
Go ahead, Cliff.
I would just say, like we talked about before, having a patient whistle, especially at C on that particular play. I think that whistle is not too bad, but I would like to see just a little bit longer delay on that, just to give Trail a chance on it. But I agree that I think it's Trail's call all the way, just for the reasons you cited. I mean, all the actions coming from the Trail side. Trail's probably going to have the best look at that. Plus, it is his primary area, so you're going to have to be a little bit patient if you're going to call out of that, just to make sure that, number one, that it is a foul. We just don't want to stop the game if we don't have to, but let's make sure that we're right.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. We're flying. All right, this is a transition the other direction. All right, Dana, go ahead and release. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that in a second.
Sorry for the delay in getting that. The chat came up right over the submit button, so I can get to it. All right, we're at the halfway point with 25 of 33 voting. 20 seconds. 25. And time's up.
All right.
All right. Lead with 27 of the respondents, 93%. Center and Trail each with 1 vote for 3% apiece.
All right. I'm not sure if the Trail or Center voters would like to speak up.
Yes, David. I went with the Center. In all the pre-games that I usually run or participate in, I always ask the Center to watch for the pass and crash. And so this is a pass and crash. And so hopefully the Center is going to be watching according to the pregame that we have. And that's the reason why I went with Center.
All right. And David, what would be the lead's responsibility on this play?
Well, first of all, the Trail's coming in she's still by I think that's a she, to be respectful, at the half court.
I mean, okay, so, well, hold on a second. Let me go back. If you're not worried about the Trail and you're just the lead refereeing, what would be your responsibility?
I'm still gonna go with this guy in the corner because this is something that I talk about in the pre-games as to what our responsibilities are going to be, because that trail is so far behind. The lead has to pick up that shooter and the defender that's coming in. So I still insist, for me anyways, that I want the center to pick up the passing crashes. That's my pregame. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's what I do for pre-games on passing crashes.
Okay, so as far as consistency, and again, we're looking for consistency. So your pregame might be different than Wilson's pregame. And Wilson, on your pregame, what are you talking about on this play?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
This defender is in the lead's primary, and the lead needs to have their eyes there. You got to drive and kick to the wing, which is really our game now. And so if you're going to stay with the crash, you stay with the crash within your primary. When it's kicked to the wing, that's someone else's primary. So we're not going to leave the crash. And I'm not saying that the center can't help, but this defender right now is in the lead primary, and I would say this is a leads play on the pass and crash because the defender is in the leads primary.
Right. And so, David, and I get it, and everything goes back to pre-games. But remember, when we pregame, let's try to stick within the guidelines of our basic mechanics and coverage. So, yes, the logic absolutely makes sense. But again, if I'm the lead and I'm busting my tail like this lead is, and he does a great job. This lead does a great job of getting down the floor. I can't really worry about where my trail is. I don't know where my trail is. I guarantee you I don't know where my trail is. So if on this play, we stick to the fundamentals and the basics, and we say that this is a lead play, then in your pregame, we want your pregame to be consistent to everyone else's pregame. Does that help?
Nate, this is Curtis. In my pregame, we talk about it, and that's always the question: how are we going to handle passing crashes? And my response to the referees is the same principles will apply like a block charge play in the front court. So if we have a transition pass and crash, if you stay consistent on that and the same principles apply in your mind as a lead official, then your primary play is that secondary defender. So again, I'm not disagreeing with David. Pregame it, and as long as you're on the same page, you're fine. But if we're consistent, you talked about the state level being consistent. If we can stay consistent with the primary and the principles, I think we can get these plays correct. And I'm not saying he got it incorrect. It's just a mindset when we pregame, especially when we get to Albuquerque for the state tournament.
Hey, Nate.
Yeah.
And this is Brian. One thing I picked up in a pregame before on pass and crash is if the ball is kicked to the wing, and there's a pass and crash in the lane, we want the lead to stay with the crash, and we want the trail or the center to go with the ball. Now, if the ball is dished to the low block, then lead would stay with the ball, and we would want C or trail to come in and get the crash.
Yep. So we're good. So this, to clear this up, this is a lead play.
Nate, talk about the mechanics on this signals.
Nate.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Abney made comment. Hey, again, we go back to the previous play. Again, we've got to be strong with our mechanics, and we have to also be consistent with our mechanics. This is, this is an excitable play. This is a play where, oh, man, and really, ultimately we need to have a player control mechanic, which is fist up, hand behind the head, and punch. I believe that on the men's side, you guys are required to do that this year.
Correct. We can't throw the NBA one fist punch anymore. We have to post the arm. and then put our hand behind the head as we did in the old school days, and go with the traditional player control.
Yeah, and on the women's side, we have the NBA fist up punch. So this is definitely a mechanic that I'm gonna have to work on.
And we're not happy. We like the women's or NBA, and I like how even in high school, you know, guys are punching. I mean, it's a good mechanic, but whatever. When in Rome.
Yeah. All right. So we do what we have to, right? All right. Next play. We're at 8:06. I'm gonna probably go another 10 minutes, so we'll see how many plays we can get through. We've got 13 on here, so. All right. All right, go ahead and release, Dana.
We are at the halfway point.
All right.
Five seconds remaining. And time is up. So we had 24 participants out of 33 still on the webinar. Of those, the lead was 71% or 17 officials, center was 25%, 6 officials, and trail was 4%, 1 official.
What was the lead?
17 for 71%.
Okay. And then what was the trail?
Trail was 1 with 4%, center was 6 with 25%.
All right. Anybody on the center side want to venture out and explain why this is a center call?
Nate, this is Jared again.
Yep.
So I went with center. Yes, by the book, this is a lead play, plays in the paint, but looking at, you know, everything that's going on, he's got a competitive matchup right in front of him, rebound,
Beautiful.
post ups. So he's in, you know, obviously Doug is working his ass off to get around that competitive matchup to pick it up, because he's going, this is going to be a play in my area. But I think in this play, whoever the C is has the best look, in considering the secondary defender even takes a step forward, which might actually be missed by the trail or by the lead, if possibly, I don't know. But I think the center's got a great look at this, and so that's why I went with the center play, because competitive matchup right in front of the lead, that it's going to be hard to see through those players.
And
Jared, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I second that too, because the lead has backs and butts of that competitive matchup right in front of him. So he definitely has the best look.
Yeah, so absolutely. In mine, by book, secondary defender, this is a lead play. Understand, this is a lead play. This is secondary defender. But in my notes, I talk about the competitive matchup that the lead is responsible, and it's competitive. I mean, is there a possible hold, push? Okay, and the lead is having to fight through that competitive matchup to pick up that secondary defender. Does the lead possibly miss this play? Absolutely. And I think Curtis or Wilson brought it up earlier. If you're not sure, you're better off not guessing on this play. And if we look at our center right here, our center is pretty excited, because what does he do? He takes a step, because he's going to make a decision if our lead does not. So this is a lead play. If you are guessing, we don't want to guess. Don't guess, because our center will come in with the secondary cadence, and get this played right. And if I had to guess, our center is probably body language wants to go the other way.
You know, as we officiate in the front court, Nate, and this is something that Chris Rastatter references, is having a big picture mentality in the front court. And if we have a big picture as a center official, we have to be aware of where our partners cannot referee. So I have to be, as if I'm the center official on this play, I have to be cognizant of that lead official not being able to see through those two players and be ready to assist on the play. So it's just a mindset to say, okay, that lead can't see that play. I got to be ready to assist on the play. And you can see him coming. He does a very good job of being patient with it. His body language is coming up for a block. You can see it. But it's just something else to think about as referees, to say, hey, I have nothing competitive in my area. Let's expand a little bit and help our partners out. And if they can't see or they have multiple players in their area, go ahead and expand that and assist. And something to put in your mind, big picture in the front court, slow your game down, see the entire play, and help each other out and trust the system.
Absolutely.
Hey, Nate, there's a question in the chat. Should C move toward the crash, toward the end, away from the sideline?
Wait, say that again.
Should C move toward the crash, toward the end, away from the sideline?
Yeah, so closing down, probably a close down would be nice. He starts to, and I think that he recognizes that the lead has a whistle and a quick block signal, and he kind of backs off of it. But you're right, a close down wouldn't be bad, especially if the center's going to come in and help with that on a cadence whistle. We definitely don't want our center to have a primary whistle on that. But if our center comes in on a secondary whistle, then absolutely a little close down doesn't hurt.
Nate's Cliff.
Go ahead, Cliff.
One other thing, and you kind of touched on a second ago, when the center starts moves onto the floor, I think you should probably take 1 or 2 steps hard towards that play, and that would definitely let the lead know that I've got the play if you don't. You know what I'm saying? He's just kind of soft when he comes off the sideline. Instead of taking a couple of hard steps and then stopping, at least then the lead, if he looks over for help, he knows that center's got a whistle if he needs it.
Yep. Good stuff. All right.
So, hey, real quick, Nate, may I?
Yep.
Let's talk graduate level officiating. Curtis brought it up. As I'm the center and I'm looking at that defender that's getting ready to get ran over, I have to look through that defender to find my lead to see where the hell is he and what does he or she has. So I've got to be graduate level. To be really good, I got to be able to ref more than 2 players. And Curtis brought it up, and everybody's actually bringing it up. We have a competitive matchup between 23 and 34. There's some conflict there.
She's very
so
light.
I wouldn't even have a problem if we had a double whistle on that. I mean, I really wouldn't, because as the lead, as a center, I would say my lead cannot see that play. I'm going to go ahead and post my arm, maybe not first, but I'm going to have a whistle. And if the lead does have a whistle, I'll let them take it unless they don't want it. But this is definitely a 2-referee play. And I think everybody alluded to it about the competitive matchup and the complexity that the lead has with the what else is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think our lead does a good job. Yeah, I mean, we can nitpick the play. We can try to 50-50 the call itself, but ultimately our lead does a good job of making a decision. What did Dana and I typed this in last night's Zoom meeting that I was on. Joan Powell's quote about being making decisions.
Oh goodness, I don't remember. I'd have to go back to my notes.
Yeah, so and I have it right here, and I'll read it off actually. It says, and this is decision making is part of what we do, and well, it said the road to life. Hold on, let me find it. I have it close.
I think my notes are at the office, so I forgot.
Yeah. It's talking about there's a lot of dead squirrels out there. You remember that one?
Yes, I do. squirrels that failed to make a decision.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a lot of dead squirrels on the road that failed to make a decision, and that's kind of these plays. We got to make decisions. So we'll go one more play to top 10, and then we'll call it a night. All right, go ahead and release that pull.
All right, it's rolling. We're halfway through. Five seconds. And time's up.
All right, what do we have?
So we had 25 votes. 23 of those said center and 2 said lead.
All right. Any lead participants who want to speak up? Going once, going twice. Again, you are correct. This is a primary defender, Seaside Drive in the front court. Yes, we are in transition, but I believe that at this point we're a front court play. Primary defender. This would be a center play. Anybody disagree or have comments on this type of play? All right, that was a quick one, so might as well just put one more in. Maybe this one's a little more difficult. Oh yeah, this is actually a good one. All right, Dana, go and put that pull up.
Ooh, this is gonna be another close one. We're at 15 seconds. Five seconds to go. And time's up. All right, so lead was 12 officials or 50%, center was 11 officials, 46%, and trail was 1 for 4%.
All right, well, anybody from the lead want to speak up? Nobody from the lead? Anybody from the center want to speak up? Man.
Yeah, I will.
Nate, this is Aaron. I'll say something. I said lead, and the reason I said lead is because this ball is received by a post player with a primary defender in the paint, and the contact happens right at the basket in the paint. So I said a lead play because it's primary defender, primary contact in the paint, PCA.
Cool. Anybody on the center?
Nate.
Yep.
Yeah, can you run the play again?
Yeah, sure.
I've already voted, so. So I don't have an issue with if the lead has a whistle, but two, this could be considered a curl play. It's coming at the center. The center would do a better job if they step down and try to peek, but I still believe they have a good look. And I'm not saying the lead can't blow, but I don't have a problem with the center blowing either because this could be considered a curl play.
Correct. And if we're looking at, you know, and technically this is also not really a drive to the basket, right? And if we look at our lines on the floor and we look at our primary coverage area, this is another gray area, right? Because that lane in our mechanics is split with the center and the trail. I mean, center and the lead on this play.
Yeah, and I don't know why the lead didn't blow. Again, I don't know. If you have an open look and you can see the play, I do believe, as Aaron said, primary is lead. It looks like the lead has an open look, but for whatever reason, there's no whistle. And the center comes in. We need a whistle on that play. We talked about that topic, plays that need whistles.
Yep.
And we get it. Again, at first I thought the lead was straight lined or blocked out or had multiple defenders, but I mean, we don't have the baseline camera. So we're only using this angle, but it looks like the lead does have a look at this play and decided not to blow, and the center came in, and now we all owe him a steak dinner.
And
Nate, the only thing I would say on the center on this play though is just be a little more patient, have a cadence on it. I mean, because the mechanic pretty much for the center is straight block. There is no fist. There's no, you know, what happens when our lead comes out with a punch?
Nate?
Yes.
Now look at the contact, the matchup that develops in the low block on the C side.
Yeah.
Before the contact. Okay.
Who has that? Who's responsible for that matchup, Cliff?
That should be centers.
Y'all didn't get off in Mississippi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Gas station.
Yep. I mean, and that's why, you know, if our Wilson talks about it, if our center takes a step down, you know, our center is a little more patient. And again, mechanics are important, especially from the outside. We definitely want to be slow to show. A fist up is always great. You know, in this play, our center kind of just, he's going straight block. Boom. Like I said, this is a large play waiting to happen. What did Cliff, what terminology did you use this year?
What, the competitive matchup in the low block?
No, Dana and I used it all year long.
Oh.
The jump ball and the foul, it was the jowl.
Oh yeah, the jowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yep. But any other comments on this before we shut it down? All right. So again, because we are kind of in our fall season, we're gonna probably go every other week on these meetings. So we won't have a meeting next week, but we will come back on the 8th. And at that point, our guest speaker is going to be Angel Kent. She is a Division I G League official that will be breaking down some film with us. So I hope to see you guys here in a couple weeks.
Thank you, everybody, for being on tonight and spending your Wednesday evening with us. Appreciate the discussion and the attention, and we appreciate everything you do.
Absolutely. Have a good one. All right, DP.
All righty.